Good afternoon. Well, we thought this time we'd try and capture some of the all-staff briefings, so if you're not able to join us, you get a feel for the stuff we're discussing. So this is the first attempt. Hope it goes all right. So here we are at the end of the consultation. Nobody thought we'd get to this stage perhaps, and we've had some fantastic feedback, some of which has been really positive, some of it's been a bit of a challenge, and a whole load of people in the middle just actually saying, come on, let's get on with this, let's get it done, let's land the right terms and conditions and move on as an organisation. So for us in the senior management team, that's really encouraging. And today isn't about pulling apart the consultation and having a discussion around that. It's much more about outlining where we go from here and what happens next. So consultation's closed, the staff are working really hard to pull that consultation together and make sure that it makes a meaningful difference to what we do as we go forward. Actually, one of the things we've done in the all-staff briefing also is just taken time to say thank you to people. Thank you to the people who put the new screens in at Broadland. Thank you for absolutely catching the individual who decided it was a good idea to remove the lead from South Norfolk House. I mean, just fancy climbing up on the roof to steal the lead, only to find there was somebody in the building. So thanks guys for sorting that out for us. Really positive stuff. And as we go forward, I want us to be an organisation that absolutely says thank you when we need to. So please do make sure, if we're having an all-staff briefing, if a member of your team has done something really smart, let's know about it. Let's publicly say thank you and celebrate success as we go forward. So, taking us back to the consultation. There's a whole raft of areas that need to be considered, and there are some particular points coming forward that we'll do in discussion with our trade union colleagues and members of the staff forum. So, flexible working is one key thing. I was at the meeting with the trade unions and the staff forum the other day, and it almost felt like I was on the wrong side of the fence, because I was saying, come on, we want to have more flexibility in our system. We don't need to be recording every 5 minutes. Is it productive to do that? So I look forward to see your feedback and where we get to around flexible working going forward. Annual leave was also an area of concern. And while I think there's an improvement on the table, did the improvement go as far as people might have wanted it to go? Travel, and within travel, essential car users, all things that are really important to you as individuals. But also, it's a convenience that we're only 12 miles apart with the two headquarters, but it's also a frustration that we have people travelling between one and the other during the working day. And also not really that helpful towards our environmental agenda. How do we deal with that as we look at terms and conditions? Assimilating and ring fencing is going to be a key area for people. I've said before that we've got as many jobs as we have got people, and it's the matching of those things that's really important. Actually, we've had another look at the consultancy team, and we think we're going to be able to grow the number of posts, so we could be in a position where we've got more jobs than we have people, and just getting the right skill match is important. Now, it's not for me to go into the technical HR stuff of how assimilation works, but by and large your assistant directors will be sitting down with HR, with the trade union representatives, and saying, actually, does this person match this job in terms of the job content? If that's the case, then you can expect to be assimilated. If there's more people in a group that might match certain jobs, then you'll be invited to be in a ring-fence group if there's 6 jobs and 6 people, and put an expression of interest in for the job that best suits you. And again, there'll be conversations to get the right people into the right post. In the unfortunate or unlikely circumstances where there are more people than there are jobs, again a ring fence around that post and then a competition. The areas that are completely new are the consultancy jobs, and I would really encourage anybody who wants to be part of our game-changing team to look at the consultancy team and make an application for that. That will be through a competitive process. Pay protection is another area where people have got concerns because the policies are different. People have said it's unfair. Well, there are lots of differences in our terms and conditions, and this process is about aligning those terms and conditions, and it is unfair if they're different. That doesn't mean that we can move everybody up to the highest level in all of the terms and conditions. It does mean it's important that we align them and set off in the new year with a straight and level playing field moving forward. So there's a timescale which actually, if you click onto the Connect website, you'll be able to see what happens next through the process. But we're heavily into consolidating your responses, dealing with that, understanding what changes we need to make before moving into the next phase of the process. Expressions of interest for the roles will close on the 15th of November, and our final offer letters should be with you on the 13th of December. What has come up is, actually, Trevor, there's a lot of work to do. Is there any room for slippage in the timescale? My response is simply this. This has been a long time in coming, and I have said at numerous staff briefings, I'd like this process completed so that everybody has their letter and surety before we go on the Christmas break. And I'm not stepping back from that commitment. I accept there's a lot of work to be done, and actually we might need to apply more resource to get that work done, because at the same time we're also trying to produce the half-yearly business reports in terms of finance and performance. So the day job as well as reorganisation needs to be completed. But my undertaking to you is to stick to the timescale so that we know where we are before we go on Christmas break. Equally, there's been concern about, well, what about if something's not settled? None of the normal process of job evaluation or appeals disappear on the 1st of January. Those processes are still in place. So if you are an individual whose terms and conditions or whose job role isn't quite settled, there's still opportunity to do those things as we get into the new year. In terms of organisation development, there's some really exciting things coming forward. And if Dee was here to talk to you about them, she would talk to you about the different training opportunities we've got, the different support processes and packages that will be in place for staff up till Christmas. And then when we get into the new year and we've got the structures sorted out, we'll start to look about how do we absolutely become best in class. Training for our managers. All too often we promote people in a professional field and we forget to give them those people training skills, the having difficult conversations, the performance management. How do we make sure we are best in class? So I'd encourage you to look on the Connect website and see that HR timetable and see what opportunities you want to take going forward. This is really an exciting time for us to shape. So going back to that consultancy team, we want people who are going to be game changers. They are going to be best in class. Now, some of those consultancy roles, absolutely anyone can apply for. Some of them will go to, in the first instance, an opportunity for people from particular teams. Some of them will be absolutely general roles. If you want to be part of shaping the organisation going forward, please do consider an expression of interest. And if you haven't written an expression of interest for a long time or ever before, some of that training that Dee will be doing will be around constructing an expression of interest and preparing to negotiate for a job. That team's so important and is really about the step change in what we deliver. If you were at the all-staff briefing, you'd see a slide now which was a quote from Henry Ford, who says something along the lines, if we asked the people what they wanted, they would say faster horses. We aren't about improving our processes and procedures based on what we currently do, be that at Broadland Council or be that at South Norfolk Council. We are about reimagining how we deliver the right outcomes and then looking at what best of class is. This is a really good opportunity that I would encourage you to have a look at. Thereafter, what happens will be, you might need to cut on the slides there.
Yep.
So, my next slide was actually a picture of a Christmas tree and Christmas baubles, and that was a high-risk strategy. Do I, when people are unsettled, say, by the way, Christmas is 2.5 months away? Absolutely. And the reason for that is we're going through a period of change, and in some eyes that's difficult, in some eyes that's an opportunity. But the reality is that post-Christmas we'll all be working together as one team. So at this stage, let's not forget that Christmas is 2.5 months away. What do we normally do in South Norfolk House? What do we normally do in Thorpe Lodge to celebrate Christmas? How do we use that to help to build a positive momentum and esprit de corps going forward? It's really, really important that we recognise the relationships matter after we've got through this process. And some of you will be watching going, well, actually, you've talked about employer of choice, Trevor. I've always worked for an employer of choice, but you're disrupting it. And I think it's important that we do what we're doing, sure and certain that the status quo was never an option. From the moment the feasibility study was signed, things were going to change. That whole language of compromise, working in partnership, which is as hard for the politicians as it is for us as officers. We're going through an alignment of jobs, an alignment of terms and conditions, and then getting on to deliver what the individual councils want. The councillors have a different proposition, because instead of having an officer team that works solely for them, they have an officer team that works across 2 councils. So the language of compromise and settling on an agreed way forward is even tougher for them. But rest assured, the status quo was never an option. With that in mind, let's move forward positively and build something that we can all be proud of, and start to build that new employer of choice with an opportunity to influence lives across a massive swathe of economy in Norfolk. Part of our plan to do that, we're working on a new business plan with the politicians, and we aim to have a grand strategy for their 4-year political term, albeit this one will be a 3-year because the elections were obviously last May. And sat underneath that will be 2 yearly business plans where we say to the members, this is what we're going to deliver for you over the next 2 years. Why 2 years? Well, because it strikes me every year, no sooner have we set a budget and a business plan than we then start to plan the next one. And that just consumes too much organisational energy and drive. If we go for 2 years and we have a light touch refresh in the 2nd year, hopefully we can spend more time delivering and less time planning on what that delivery looks like. So I hope this has been a useful version of an all-staff briefing. Let us have your feedback. If it is, we'll do it again. If you've got any questions and comments based on that, clearly you can't ask them now, but you can absolutely email me or the team and say, Trevor, actually, we've seen your brief, we've got the following questions. For now, focus on Christmas. Let us know what you want to do to celebrate. Let us know how we start to build that employer of choice going forward. But please accept that the status quo is not an option. Thank you.
So good.
Is that all right?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
I'll just